Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of the Commercial Builders Network. My name is Tanisha Reed, and I just wanted to apologize in advance for all of the audio issues that happened during this episode. My mic was acting wacky the entire episode, but you know what? Amber dropped some amazing gems. You want to stay through to the end. It is so amazing what she blessed us with. Her transparency, her vulnerability, you don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. This is the Commercial Builders Network, where trust is restored, power is reclaimed, and legacy is built. Let's get to work. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Commercial Builders Network. We have a special guest, the beautiful, the great Amber Lawson came all the way from the A to give us her presence. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're here.
Girl, I am extremely glad that I'm here, and even more so that you reached out.
You're such a beautiful spirit. Like, I really appreciate the short time that we've had together, like even the call that we had. You challenged me. Yeah, and like you guys are gonna see this first episode is all because of her. When I go, it was therapeutic. You know, it ain't gonna be for everybody, but it's definitely me in the raw. And you can thank Miss Amber Lawson. So can you please introduce yourself officially? Tell us about your business, where you're from, what are you known for?
Okay, that's a lot. So I am Amber Lawson. I am the principal and founder of Aspire Construction and Design. It's a commercial design build firm. We're based in Atlanta, Georgia. And, I really don't think we're known for anything. We are, we're very niche. We're a boutique firm. Those that know us, and that's cool.
Absolutely. Now, with the challenge that you gave me, you had me tap into my why. Why did you start Aspire?
I started Aspire 8 years ago. I left working for a larger general contractor. And when I left that working for corporate and started entertaining this thought of entrepreneurship, the biggest thing for me and what I had really felt from my entire career was that I had never encountered a space or a place where I felt like there were no limits on what I could do or how big I could get, right? Based on the skill and the knowledge that I was able to bring to the table, right? And so for me, starting Aspire was creating the space and place where I could truly see how high and how far I could fly. And in that process, create a space and place for other people in the construction industry where you can come work at Aspire Construction and Design. And the only thing that's going to stop you from progressing in your career, increasing your responsibilities, and really seeing what you could do is you.
Yeah.
It's not going to have anything to do with what you look like or where you come from, but completely based on what you bring to the table, what you're trying to do. And hey, if it aligns, let's go fly together.
And I love that. That's exactly what the Commercial Builders Network is all about, is how do we create these other opportunities, especially for people that look like us. Because that is something that this is a space that not many of us on the larger scale are on. So kudos to you and creating a platform and a space for people to be able to develop those skills. And with that, it comes with a lot of fear and distrust when we go into new industries. When it comes to investing and things of that nature, how do you work with your clients and
creating these new opportunities in these spaces on building around trust and the trust issues that come?
So, I'll tell you, my typical client is a small business owner or a small scale real estate developer. And I don't say small scale as in small potatoes, but just certain size development projects. We're talking about development projects, let's say 3 million and under, right? So those are my typical clients. And when they come through my door, they find me. Typically, this is their first time doing something at this scale on this level. Okay. They are a small business owner. They own a restaurant. They're about to maybe they've been doing catering and now they're about to jump into their own location. Maybe they worked out of a ghost kitchen and now they're going to work, going to have their own space. Or maybe they were an attorney that worked out of their home and now they're ready to have an office. But these are new people to the space and there is some fear there, but I think that the counter to that fear is education and exposure. So, the first piece on the education side, every client that comes through my door, I'm going to walk you through the process so you can understand what comes next. And in addition to understanding what comes next, I'm going to let you know what can stop us from getting to the next thing because there's just so many things that pop up in the design and construction world. So I don't want it to be a surprise for you. Just know there's going to be some challenges. So there's the education piece, like what's the journey? Let me walk you through that. And then there's the exposure piece, being exposed to the different areas. Because again, if you come to me as a business owner, you're going to get exposed to architecture, interior design, engineering, space planning, and those are all the things that you're going to need to tap into because you're the expert on your business. And so it's really about helping clients understand what they actually do know and operating in their strengths. You know the best way to serve your customers. All I need you to do is tell me, and then I can design a space around what you already know about your clients, about your customers, so that when we go to design your physical space and we go to build it, you get something that works for you and adds to your business as opposed to maybe being a detriment. Because, you could get to the end of your process and build something that's not in alignment with how you operate. And that's unfortunate, but that can be the case.
So how do you know that a client is ready to work with you on this scale? I don't have experience personally like developing inside of the commercial space, but I was a realtor, and I found myself wanting to help the underdog. I kept hitting this wall where it was like they they weren't as interested as I thought they were. It's like, I want to get our people to see the light. Ownership is where it's at. How do you know that you're not going to waste your time with a certain type of client? Like, how do you know that they're ready to be in the game and start?
You really want to know? You get one phone consultation with me. You get one more meeting with me. And then after that, you got to start paying. And I didn't operate like that when I first started because I was like you. I wanted to really help as many people as I could. And when I tried to do that, I ended up not being able to help anybody because some people are not ready. And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we need to determine that early. And the easiest way for me is, hey, let's talk on the phone. Let's talk to your project. Boom, you get to know me. Then we'll have another meeting, which could be in person or it could be virtual. So you'll get another meeting where we'll talk more in depth about your project. And then after that, that's when I'm presenting you either with a proposal for services or a consulting proposal. And at that point, that's where we really got to see. because if you are ready in this space, and I'm really specifically speaking about commercial real estate, if you're ready, you're going to understand that the people in this space are highly educated, highly skilled, highly credentialed, and that their time is worth something. And you understand that there needs to be an exchange of value in order for the relationship to proceed.
Awesome, awesome. You described your business as a one-stop shop, from raw land all the way to the completed construction project. Can you walk us through those steps of the process and what that journey looks like?
So, I will, but I want to really focus on the first part, which is the due diligence, which a lot of people, I won't say they skip over, but they're not aware of the significance, the importance, and the time for due diligence. So, due diligence is going to encompass testings and inspections, it's going to be surveys, it's going to be pro forma financial models, it's going to be a market study, and even if you're a business owner going to be open up a new location, or you're a real estate developer that's going to develop a piece of real estate, you need all of those things, because the first question that you have to answer is, does this deal make sense? And if you have not thoroughly answered that question and have data to back up why you say that this deal makes sense, what are we doing? So, first step is due diligence, right? Once you get through due diligence, and that's due diligence on your side, right? Figuring out the numbers, what money do I have? What money do I have access to? What do I need to get? And then there's a due diligence of the actual property, the land, the real estate, the building. Once you get through those due diligence processes, then you go into conceptual design. That's when we get to start dreaming. We start talking about what the goals are, big goals. You keep the picture big, right? Because you want to understand, hey, what are you trying to do here? And then through that conceptual design process, that's where we figure out how big, how tall, how wide, what's the level of construction? Are we doing marble floors or are we doing LVT? You know what I mean? Either one is fine, but what are we doing? So conceptual design is where we come up with the pretty pictures. The pretty pictures lead us to the nitty gritty of the construction plans and documents. That's where the architect and the engineer go away off to their own, and they really start creating the documents that we use to submit for a building permit. And that process can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months, depending on the complexity of the project. Permit review, where the authority having jurisdiction, whether it's the city or the county, you're looking at maybe, depending on the project, between 1 month and 3 months for review to get your building permit. Now, once you get your building permit, that's your green light to go. That's boots on the ground, that's moving dirt, and that's when we start the construction process. So that's a bird's eye view of the process.
So with that and the times that you have to actually do the waiting, how does funding work? How should they create their budget, I guess?
So you really want to get a budget together that's going to cover the items that you need to buy during due diligence. And for that, I'm talking about soil testing, a building inspection if it's required, a phase 1 environmental study, a hydrology study. And there's a few other things that you may need to do during that due diligence process. You need to budget for that. You also then need to budget for your conceptual design. Your conceptual design gives you your 3D renderings. It'll give you a floor layout, and it'll also give you elevations, which is front of the building, the side of the building, so people can understand what you're trying to do. You take those conceptual designs, and then at that point, that's when you go out and start securing your financing, because now you have something to talk to people about. Whether you're talking to people at the bank, whether you're talking to friends and family for investment, or whether you're talking to investors, outside of your circle, because people want to understand what it is you're trying to do. And the easiest way to convey that is visually. So it's really important to, again, budget for that due diligence process, the testing and inspections, but to also budget for your conceptual design.
So what does those numbers look like roughly?
It just depends on what you're trying to build. I can give you an example. So an example would be, let's say you're a small business owner, and you're going to, let's just say you're going to buy a piece of land and build a building specifically for your company, right? In that due diligence process of soils testing, hydrology study, all of that, you could spend anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 completing those tests and inspections. Your conceptual design is you working with an architect to solidify your vision, define your vision, and come up with a visual picture for you to present to other people. That is going to range anywhere from $1,000 up to $20,000. Again, depending on the complexity of your project, the size of the building, where it's located, and what part of the country you're in. So you can see that's a significant investment. And you haven't even secured your funding yet.
So you gotta have some skin in the game.
That's your skin in the game.
Yeah.
That's why in the commercial space, if you get to a point where we've had a couple of meetings and you don't understand why I'm now billing you for this consulting service, you're not ready yet.
Absolutely. What is a common misstep for new builders that you've seen?
Due diligence. Every time. Because there's not a great understanding about what due diligence is about. And it's about knowing your numbers. If you are a new builder and you want to develop a single family development, let's say you got a piece of land, you're like, hey, I want to put 20 houses on here. I think I can tackle this project. Here's my first question, right? What is the standard in that area per square foot to build residential? That you can get that on the internet. Is it $150 a square foot, $175 a square foot, $200 a square foot? That's information you can get on the internet. So you start there. Then you say to yourself, okay, I know generally how much it's going to cost to build the houses. How much is the site development going to be? And by site development, I'm talking about infrastructure, the electrical, getting electrical from the county. Where's the closest water line? Is the closest county water line 100 feet from where your development is going to be? Then that means you got to tear up 100 feet of street to get the county or city water to your development. Right? Or is it right there on the street outside your development? Okay, so you only got to go 10 feet. So there's the cost of building the buildings. There's the cost of the site development. And so looking at that, and then your next big question is, what are houses like what I'm trying to build? What are they selling for? Look at the comps. Again, this is all information you can get on the internet. Go on Zillow, go on Redfin. Okay, this is the kind of house I want to build, about the size. It's sold for $150 a square foot. If it's sold for $150 a square foot and it costs you $150 a square foot to build it, plus the site development costs, we got to stop right now.
Absolutely.
And this is data that you can get yourself. This is not a highly kept secret in the age of the internet.
Right.
And so that's what a lot of people are missing. They jump right from, I found a piece of land, I found a building, let me go find a builder and an architect to design my vision. There's a whole financial piece in the middle of that, determining, does the deal make sense? And when I say sense, I'm not saying like SENSE. I'm saying CENTS, like
Little
pennies,
pennies.
dollars, and cents. Does it make sense? There's you don't want to be spending that kind of money on testing and inspections and conceptual designs if the deal's not going to work, because you'll take it to a bank, you'll take it to an investor, and they're like, how do I get my money back? Or better yet, why are you doing it if there's no profit here?
It's interesting because I did meet a lady who did soil testing, and I didn't understand the importance of it, but she was like, yeah, if you don't test the soil, it's something as simple as that. If the building is, say they were building a storage facility or something, the sinking of it, like there won't be the leveling or the process. And I was just like, I never even thought about testing soil. You think you can just build it, just put a little foundation on it, and then you're just good to go. So it's little intricate things that I guess they would have to come to an expert like you to say, okay, these are the things that you need to outline. These are the things that you need to do beforehand. And you actually walk them through the due diligence process as well.
Oh no, we complete the due diligence for you.
Oh,
Yeah. Because for soils testing, you got to find a soil testing company. For the survey, you got to find a survey company. For the phase one environmental, you have to find a company that does a phase one environmental. And for those of you out there that don't know what a phase one environmental is, it is a deep dive into the history of the property, its uses. Was it ever used as a dry cleaners? That's an area of concern because dry cleaners use chemicals that could have leached into the soil, and you may be required to clean those chemicals up before you can do any construction. Was there a gas station on that site before? And if there was a gas station, did they properly dispose of the tanks that they buried in the ground? If they didn't, now that's your responsibility. And a phase one environmental will turn that up. Was the property used in any kind of way where there would be an environmental concern, right? And so that phase one environmental will tell you that, because once you buy it, you have now bought everything that comes along with that, the pluses and the minuses. And so you need to understand what those are.
I love that you actually do that part, the due diligence part for the client, because figuring all those different steps out and shopping that around, that I couldn't imagine how much time that would take just to figure out who these people are and understanding that those are the different things that you would need to do.
Yeah, and not just shopping it around, but shopping it around for price and for quality.
Right.
You can do soil testing, and for everybody that doesn't know what soil testing is, you take a big drill, you drill about 20 feet into the ground, you take a core sample, and that will let you know what kind of soil you have. Is it sandy? Is it silty? Is it clay? What kind of soil are there? Are there big boulders underneath? Are there big rocks underneath that we need to know about? Because you might need to blast those rocks out for your foundation. So again, you could hire somebody and they could do maybe 5 core drills, right? But somebody that's experienced might say, listen, I'm looking at the topography of this land. You need 8 core drills. That's going to give you the best set of information so you can make good decisions. And you need somebody that's going to bring the quality. And so for a layperson to get that right, it's going to be hard because I've made mistakes and I've been doing this for 26 years. Okay. So the beauty about that's why you want to find an expert that you trust and that you resonate with, which is why I have the consultations with my clients. Get to know me, ask me the questions, right? Because you've got to get someone by your side that you can trust, because you don't know. Right. You really don't.
Yeah.
Because if you did know, you just would do it on your own. And so if you don't know, lean into the fact that you don't and find someone that you trust and that does know. And that will tell you when they don't know something. Because if I don't know, it doesn't matter. My network is deep and it's long, and I'm going to find the answer.
But as a Black woman in development, design, and construction, that's so powerful. I love that for you. What does that mean to have a seat at every table?
What it means is control. What it means is control. I get to guide the process. I had just been a part of so many scenarios where, not as the business owner that I am now, but I'd been a part of so many other scenarios where I just had seen people just going down a path, or clients being taken down a path that was unnecessary. Not because the person I was working for was being unethical, it's just their business model wasn't to hold people's hand and walk them through the process, right? All the time, it's not that somebody's out to get you. That's just not their business model. It's like, I provide a service, you need to tell me what you want, and I'll give you what you want. But if you don't know what you want, or if you don't know what you need, so you've got to find a provider. If especially if you are new to the game, you're gonna have to find a provider of services that's gonna be willing to explain things to you, walk you through it, and give you the why.
So, do you intentionally bring subcontractors, partners, and vendors who reflect the communities that you decide to serve?
Absolutely.
That's even. How do you approach it though? Like, I know you did say that your clients come to you, but how are they finding you or knowing that, like, you are the person at the heart to serve this community?
You know, all of our clients come to us, either they know me, they've met me at a professional event, or they know someone that knows me. And it's interesting you asked about the intentionality of the subcontractors that we use on a project. We completed a project last year, Autism Complete Fairburn, Fairburns right outside of Atlanta on the south side. And this business owner, Barjona, she purchased a building, and it was used to be a church, and we turned it into a facility that educates children with autism. And that's her business. And on that project, the total construction budget was roughly just under 700,000. But the intentionality with which we selected our subcontractors for this project, that 700,000 that came from her, one Black woman to another Black woman, that 700,000 went to a plumber that looks like me, went to a HVAC company that looks like me, went to an electrician company that looks like me, went to a floor installer that looks like me, went to a landscaper that looks like me. The sign that we produced came from a company that looks like me. And we measured the impact in our community. Now, every trade we were not able to execute, because at the end of the day, I deliver a quality project to my client. So we don't compromise on quality. But of all the trades and all the materials that we were able to source from people that look like me, that impact was 2.5 million. Because in turn, those businesses employ people that look like me, and they also employ suppliers that look like me. The restaurants that we patronize were owned by people that look like us. And so, that magnitude of impact on a small project, because that's a small project, right? Imagine doing that on an even larger scale, which we're doing this year. We're working on a multi-family project in College Park, and we're doing the exact same thing. And this is a larger project. So when we get to the end of that, I'll be excited to share what that community impact has been. And again, that's another client that looks like me that hired me. So already you can count that dollar turning over in the community at least 3 times, from them to me, from me to the subcontractors to the employees. Oh my God, that's 4 times on one project, let alone the businesses and restaurants and services that they all support and use to support their businesses. Okay. Even when we had the celebration, the caterer that I, like me, the photographer did, you know what I'm saying? So it just brings me joy when I'm able to do that, and we're able to see that change. And to be honest with you, the narrative that is prevalent that's out there about the statistics on how often the dollar turns over in the Black community, I don't really know that. I don't really know how true that is. Okay, because what I see, okay, the project that I talked about, the Autism Complete, that project came to me from a referral of a Black woman who referred this other Black woman to me. And so again, I understand what people are saying, but that's not the reality of that I see.
Wow, that is so beautiful. For me, I need to know, how are you vetting them? Because a lot of times we are seen to be, we come do the bare minimum, or we're coming to joke around, or we want to do things at a higher cost, but, it's going to take longer if we hire someone that's Black. You're saying that that is not the case in your instances of things, the people that you work with. How do you know that you're getting quality? How do you vet these people out? Are they referrals? How are you finding that the community is doing so well?
You know, first let me say that there are bad experiences across the spectrum, right? From companies owned by all types of people. I think that the amplification of this thought that the service or quality from companies that look like us is less than is more so related to the fact that there's just not as many Black owned companies, so that the ones that are struggling to deliver on customer service or deliver on quality take up a larger space than might normally if, the number of Black businesses really was comparable to our percentage of population in the US. I think the percentage is like 6% of businesses are Black owned, but we make up 13% of the population, right? So again, but so I've had some bad experiences, but I don't think that that has anything to do with what they look like. I think it had everything to do with were they good at running their business. And for the most part, it's really about a lack of knowledge. But going to how you vet them. In the commercial real estate space, pretty much everybody has to have a license. GC's got to have a license. The insurance person involved's got to have a license. The banking professional, the mortgage broker, the plumber, the electrician, the architect, the engineer. So the first place to start is, are they licensed? And that information is free. The Secretary of the State of every state keeps a record of everybody that has to have a license, from hairdressers to GCs to plumbers to electricians. So start there. Do they have a license?
Right.
Then once you find out, do they have a license? Do they have any complaints on their license? That's why the state issues licenses. It's not just to collect money, it's to hold people accountable when they offer services. And so, that's where you got to start. Do you know how much nonsense you could eliminate
Absolutely.
if you just started there?
Yeah. And so for me, like I said, part of my why that we had fished out was because I had got scammed, and I got scammed by somebody who looked like me in real estate, but it was on the residential side. So when I went and got my PNC license, I said, okay, I learned about bonding. I was like, and that's the closest thing to a guarantee that your project is going to be done, but it only works on the commercial side. So that's why I'm like, maybe we need to step more into the commercial space if we're going to invest in things of that nature, because there's more safety. Yeah, the numbers are larger, but there's more safety in the return, because the numbers have to number, and these people have to be licensed, and they're held accountable.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how somebody will get really interested in helping you when you threaten their license. That's how they make money.
Yeah.
And I would say the second thing, first there, and then the second thing is engage with the person in a conversation, and then take a step back and ask yourself, how do I feel when I interact with this person? Like for real. Not in your brain, oh, they got this credential, oh, they built this thing over here, oh, they have this experience. No, at your core, how do you feel when you are interacting with this person? And that will tell you a lot. If there is any hesitation in your spirit, you got to stop and figure out what that hesitation is. And if you can't figure it out, you got to say no.
You have to be okay with your no. It will protect that no will protect you. A lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say just starting there, just start there. That will eliminate a lot of potential situations that could, put you in a not great place.
All right. So give me an example of a client or a project that challenged you and helped you grow as a builder and a business owner.
I'm not going to name the project, but the project that really helped me to grow the most was a project that I had to stop in the middle. I had been taught that once you finish what you start, okay?
Yeah.
But in business, if you have made a mistake, you don't keep going down the same road of that mistake. You got to stop and redirect. And I had not done that before, and it cost me a lot. I had a project that I didn't I it just was just going left. Just things, the client was late with the payments, but then they came up with it, so then it was okay. Then they had issues with the county. They were like not in compliance with what they were supposed to be doing, and that delayed the project. But I just kept going and going, and I involved more of my subs into the project, right?
Mhm.
The project ended up going belly up. And I personally was out $40,000. But even worse, my subcontractors were out significant dollars. And by significant, I mean the lowest was maybe 15,000 right up to 60,000. Some of those relationships I'm never getting back because I bought them onto the project.
Yeah.
Some of those relationships continued and I was able to rebuild with them. But that really taught me that continuing to go down a road that I know is not in alignment and that is giving me red flag
Right.
after red flag after red flag, you have to have the courage to stop the train and get on a different track or just cancel the trip altogether. And so that project taught me a big lesson. Lost a lot of money, lost some relationships because of it. And so, but the real thing is, are you going to take that and actually learn the lesson and utilize it moving forward? So I was in this project, and again, the red flags kept coming up. It was a family-owned business, and it was a older couple that was retiring, and their child was taking over the business. And in our first meeting, it was like 2 bosses. It was the parents, right? And the child. And not even a child. I mean, this person, had graduated, school and all of that. They were well into their 30s, very successful. But their vision for the business was not the same. And I knew I was like, ugh, the parents want one thing, the child or the I want to say the child, but the child wants something different. I can reconcile that. I can figure this out. I'm good. I can have these meetings. And it was just such a fight. It was just like one would make a decision, the other one would be like, "No, we're gonna change it." And I was caught in the middle because I didn't have a clear chain of command. I didn't have it contracted right for that kind of scenario. And I was in a meeting that was supposed to be 45 minutes, and we were going into the third hour of this meeting. And I said to myself, no, no, I can't. I can't. This is the 18th red flag. I said, I'm going to get you to this point. I'm going to get you dried in. I'm going to get your doors up. I'm going to get your electrical finished. And then we're going to have to call it. And they owed me 15,000. Keep it. I would rather leave that money on the table, and now you can't ever say that I owed you something or I left you in a worse place. No, I did the work and I didn't even ask for payment. So I've left you in a positive place. But I knew that this project and this client were not right for Aspire. Nothing wrong with them. They just weren't right for me. And it was in that moment, that was the very first time I'd ever said no to money. And if you've never done that before, when everything is on you, payroll, rent, all of the expenses of running a business, to say no to money and not know where the next money is coming from, it's hard. It's hard. And I struggled with it, but I finally did it. And as soon as I said no and, severed the relationship professionally and, all of that, I felt so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize how much stress trying to navigate between the wants and needs between these two, counterparts was really doing to me. And guess what? As soon as I said no to that, another door opened up. But it wasn't going to open till I had the time and space to even focus on that.
You had to trust yourself in that aspect. You had to trust your gut. Like you said, first off, if it doesn't feel right when you're dealing with the person as a client, you need to step away. And sometimes we're afraid because we don't know when the next check is going to come.
Also, just knowing I'm not saving babies. I'm not operating surgery. Nobody's going to die. Like, let's ratchet down
Yeah.
the anxiety level and the importance that we're really putting on these decisions, right? Like, it feels like life and death, but it's not.
That's real. That's real. That's real. I received that. I have a tendency to put extra stress on myself that if I've grown to learn to focus on what you can control. But lately, it's been a little bit of a hiccup of mine personally. When you don't know, it's like, but I want to make the best decision because I will say that scamming incident definitely caused some trauma where it's like I want to make the best decision always, and I don't ever want to, get back to that place again. So there's some forgiveness there that I'm working on. I don't know if anybody else is dealing with that, but forgive yourself, and it's okay to say no. It's okay to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Question about the relationships you had that you had to rebuild and that they were willing to rebuild with you. How did that work? Because I have a client who was over leveraged himself, was a GC, get subs, and lost some contracts because the subs that they ended up bringing on didn't know how to do the work. And I'm like, well, this is like a ruined relationship. Like, you'll never be able to go back to them. How were you able to restore those relationships and rebuild that trust?
Well, the times that, I've been in a situation like that, I've been able to shield the client from that because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. My client doesn't know anything about that. I just take the L on my chin. But I will tell you that the relationships that endured through that scenario or that situation I described previous, they endured because I had relationships prior to that. The ones that didn't survive is the ones where I had just established, like, hey, I got this project, you want to work on it? And it was those guys I was not able to repair. Um, and I think, because we didn't have an established relationship yet. But those that know me, that have known me over the years, know that I'm a woman of my word.
Character is everything. Character is everything. And it can sustain relationship past some difficult and challenging things. Because at the end of the day, it's business.
And life is gonna happen. Life is going to happen.
Have you ever had a moment in your early career journey where you had to question if you were really called to do this?
No.
Oh,
I love construction.
yeah.
Oh, I love it. But I will say that I didn't find out that that was my journey or path until I was like 25, right?
Mhm.
So I dropped out of school a couple times. I started out as a marketing major, then I was a business major, dropped out. And so I worked at a lot of different jobs. And so I really had an opportunity to explore. And so in that exploration, I found my passion. And once I found my passion, it was off to the races.
So yes, I have definitely been there, and I had to learn to shift some things. Okay. Have you ever lost it all and had to start over?
Yeah. Yeah, couple times.
Couple times, yeah.
You know, boy. Entrepreneurship, running head of the ship, there's going to be some peaks and there's going to be some valleys. And I will tell you that for a long time, I would pray to the Lord. I was like, Lord, can I just get some plateaus? I mean, the peaks are great, but the valleys.
Yes.
I said, Lord, can I please have some plateaus? But listen, he was like, nah. And I'm telling you, I was in that mode for almost like a year because like I would get I would get a really big project, but then I would have like a sub just screw me over on another project. Like, so real peaks and valleys. And I was really going through it. And I realized that I wasn't asking for the right thing because he gave me my answer, and everybody's answer is going to be different. He was like, I didn't create you for plateaus. I created you to go peak to peak to peak to peak. And so once I understood that, now the opportunities that I'm looking at, the way I move and how I make decisions about my business are now I'm not looking for the plateau projects. I'm not looking for the plateau opportunities. If I'm on a peak, I'm looking for the next peak. Because if I aim for a plateau, I'm going to fall into the valley.
That's good.
And that's what the answer was for me. And so I just say to people, you got to go inward because everybody's journey is different and everybody's on a different space in their journey. If you had talked to me when I was 22, 23, I was definitely in exploratory phase, right? And if you talking to somebody that's in exploratory phase and you in your passion phase, that's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Your lessons is not their lessons. Their lessons are not yours. And so you got to understand what journey has been designed for you. And once I understood that for me, what God has for me is peak to peak.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's rock. I'm ready.
That's good. And that's why it's so important not to compare yourself. That's so important. A lot of times you see all these things on social media. Some people living their glamorous life. Some people aren't. Truly. And it doesn't matter either which way. It's really, like you said, facing inward.
Mm-hmm.
And what is your journey?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And nobody's living a glamorous life. Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some people live it more of the time than other people, but we all have things going on that, are perhaps not going the way we'd like them to.
And I guess part of me is I want to be mindful of what we watch. A lot of times we're chasing this idea of the the high life that we're seeing because I mean social media is marketing in a sense, right? And a lot of times we're looking for these get rich quick schemes and we're just gonna go blow up. And nothing comes quick. And learning patience through this process, I feel like it's something that like people need to really identify with. Is it takes time. Yes, you are called to greatness, and you will get there. But enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. Because that's all you have. That's all you have is right now.
Yeah. What you told me before was about how the future and the past. Dive into that because that was really powerful.
So, I've just been on this self-exploration journey into really just looking to get to my highest self. And in part of that journey, some of the things that I have read, one of the things that really just resonated with me is um, if you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling fear about something, are you focused on the future? If you're feeling sad about just sad, if you're feeling depressed, are you focused on the past, right? And if that is the case, where you're focusing on the future or focusing on the past, don't, because they're not real. They don't exist. What we have, what we control is right now. And we don't even control out there. All we do control is what's in here. And so if you find yourself in either of those spaces, bring yourself back to the now. And you bring yourself back to the now by remaining in a state of thankfulness and gratefulness about what you have right here, right now. Because that is where you want to put your focus. Because where you focus is what will be multiplied. That's just how it works. So if you want to be focused on, you know, what may or may not happen, then that's what you'll be focused on. And you will miss everything that's in front of you.
So for maybe a rising developer that may be hesitant about getting started, what is your message for them?
You know, I would just say you've got to find community. Commercial real estate is a relationship game in any aspect, from insurance to brokerage to finance to construction to legal to property management, the whole shebang. It is all relationships. And there's no way for you to know everything. And the key to combat all of that is to find community. And there are so many ways to find community. There is AREP, AAREP, African American Real Estate Professionals. There's Project REAP, REAP. That is an organization that is specifically to put here to increase the numbers of minorities and women in commercial real estate. There is ULI, that is, just an organization focused on, it's the Urban Land Institute, it's focused on real estate development. There is CREW, Commercial Real Estate Women. There's NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction. NABWIC, National Association of Black Women in Construction. There's,
Yeah.
there is AEC Unites, which is headed up by Daryl McKissick over at McKissick and McKissick, right? That is architecture, engineering, and construction. That is about uniting Black-owned and minority-owned AEC firms and providing opportunities. That's just what I'm naming off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay? There are at least 10 other organizations that are powerful, have the information you need. Why would you not tap into that? Because again, you got to have the real estate attorney. You got to have the finance person. Where you going to find them? Get in community.
What is the one thing that you think your business missing?
Oh, my business?
Yes, you're nothing. Not
Oh, when I tell you, whew, but I'm going to tell you what got me on that trajectory. It's 2 books. The first book is Traction by Gino Wickman. That book revolutionized how I look at my company and how I understood how to scale my company. I feel like the prevailing narrative out there, in order to scale, you got to find investors, you got to get a pre-seed round, you got to get money in. Nah, you can't scale you. You have to scale a business, and a business is made up of systems. And that's what you scale. You use the money to scale the systems that then bring in increased revenue that allow you to pay back the investors or pay back the loan that you've borrowed. You can't take the money and hope that that will help you form the business. And by systems, I'm talking about checklists, process, procedure, the very unsexy stuff of running a business. And this book breaks it down step by step. Do this. Next, do that. Because the first thing they have you do is identify the core values of your business. And when you identify those core values, as well as your business's mission statement, which you learn in business school, oh, you're supposed to do that, but they don't really tell you why.
Right.
This book goes into the why, and then it tells you how to use it. So I have like 5 core values for my company. One of those is FITFO. Figure it the fuck out. And once I understood that that was a core value of mine, I used that to help me make hiring decisions. Because now I'm evaluating people for the core values that are important to me. And I am the business, right? So before, I was making hiring decisions based on education, experience, which are valid things. But in a small business, culture fit is even more important. And if they are not aligned, like I can't work with somebody that's going to ask me 15 questions. It could be 15 questions, but it has to be 15 questions that you couldn't find the answer out on your own. You've looked on the internet. You have reached out to your own network. You have at least gotten a base of knowledge so that when you come to me and ask me questions, they're not entry-level questions. I can tell that you have done some work before you take me out of what I'm doing, which is making money for the company, to answer your questions. And once I started hiring for the core values that were important to me and that I had identified were the core values of the company, the types of people I hired changed. And once the type of people I hired changed, the trajectory of the company changed. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, that's good.
Okay. And you would think, oh, core value, that's just an exercise. What do you use that for? Right. So there's that book, right? So then I started doing that, and that really helped me start putting the systems and the checklists and everything into place, right? Then the other book is this book called Profit First. and it's by Michael Michalowicz. And that book is about how to run the cash flow of your company. Because there is nothing like making millions of dollars and then at the end of the day not having any of it. And that's where I was at the end of 2024. So we're not talking about that long ago. To look at your company and realize I have made millions and I don't have anything to show for it in my bank account hurts so hard. And it took me real low because I did not know what to do. I had been trying all the things. I had gotten a CPA. I had started looking at my P&L reports. I was doing all the things they tell you to do. But this book breaks it down so simply. Have you ever heard of the old school envelope system? You know, where you get your money and you break it up into envelopes. This is my grocery money. This is my bill money. This is my fund money. That's basically what it is, but for your business. And you use bank accounts to do that. There's 5 basic bank accounts, one for income, one for operations, another one for profit, another one for taxes, and another one for owner's pay. And all the money that comes into the business, the first person to get paid is you.
I know that's right.
And I was like, but I need to use the money for marketing. I need to use the money to pay for a CPA. I need to use the money to renovate the office, to buy this new software. But if you're not taking care of you, nothing else will go right. And when you start prioritizing you and prioritizing the money that you allocate, it shifts your priorities because you're like, okay, this is the money. This goes to profit. This goes to my taxes. This goes here. Now here's the rest of the money I have to run my business. And you would think, but what if you can't run your business on that amount of money? Guess what? You figure it out. It changes your perspective. If I have $100 to get done what I need to get done, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you can't figure it out, then that means there's something wrong with your business model. Are you not charging enough? And guess what? It's not that I wasn't charging enough. I wasn't charging for the consulting. So there were so many hours of my time and my employees' time that was going out the door on consulting. We were meeting with clients time after time. We're up to 4, 5, 6 meetings before I'm sending them a proposal to potentially get the project. And once I went through that exercise, I realized I can't do that. That's a service. It's consulting. And I started charging for that. And so again, it's a way of looking at the cash flow of your company and identifying where is the cash flowing. And I realized it was flowing out the door in salaries and it was uncompensated. And so once I made that shift to either you pay for the consulting or we can't consult, the money took care of itself. And now I'm able to say, yeah, I can move how I need to move. I have a cushion. I can see where the dollars that are coming into my company, where it's going. I can see the results. And it has been night and day. And this is just from December of last year.
That is so good. Go get those books. I'm gonna go find those books myself. That is so good. How do we support your business, become a client, see your movement? Where we find you?
Well, we are on LinkedIn, Aspire Construction and Design. We are on Instagram, Aspire_construction_design. We're also on Facebook, and we also have a website. And the website is aspirecd.com.
And amazing.
Your spirit is so beautiful. Yeah, I love your transparency. It's just so good. Thank you so
Thank you. Thank you. It has been a joy.
much.